This is the video where you learn to make an indie rock or bedroom pop type beat. Hey, and welcome to Better Make Music. Let's get it started. So, bedroom pop basically goes like this. You take some simple drums, you take a bass, you take some guitars, and you take some pads or pad-like guitars, to fill in that extra space. For the sake of those who don't have premium VSTs, I'm going to be sticking to stock sounds on this one. If you're used to premium sounds, the value for you in this is focus on how I make the parts and not the sounds themselves, because those can always be changed later. That said, let's load up an FL Keys. So, bedroom pop beats generally are somewhere between happy poppy, sad, and like lovey vibey, like smooth. I threw some paint to help blend those emotions together. It also keeps it from being a 1-6-4-5, which I feel just gets boring. That said, it's these chords playing this progression, and when you put this rhythm to them, it sounds like this. So the most important things to note from that piano, the rhythm keeps pockets open for other instruments to fill, and it helps the loop better. So this is a bedroom pop type beat, right? So the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take that vibe all the way home. Give me a second with that. Now try and tell me this isn't the room that makes dreams come true. The only thing that's missing at this point is some nice guitar playing in the background. So let's load that VST. So for the guitar, I went chords again, right? Help fill space and help thicken up that sound. But on this VST, you can't play two notes on the same string at the same time. It sounds more realistic that way, right? So for this one, I click play, only one of those notes plays. It has to be playable on an actual guitar, right? So I kept the chords, but I changed the way those notes of the chord were being played. And that's called voicings, right? How you choose to play the notes of the chord. So in the end, this is what the chords look like, and this is their rhythm. It's now both together. So next I went for Rhodes, and I came to this pattern, and again, same chords, but it just didn't work. So I moved it to the side, more on that later. So I tried again, and I came to this pattern, and it's more like a texture. It sits quietly in the background, and here's what it sounds like. So for the Rhodes, the most important detail is this. It might seem like it'd be busy or like it'd be too much, but it ends up being the exact opposite. The three strongest reasons why: first off, it's quiet, so it can't be distracting. Second off, the rhythm of the Rhodes is almost exactly the rhythm of the guitar. And third off, the Rhodes' melody is so similar to the guitar's melody that it's not even really a counter anymore. It ends up just acting more like a harmony. If that's not quite clear, I'll put it like this because I want to make absolutely certain that you understand this. The first pattern didn't work because it added a new element, right? Not a new part, but more like a new counter or a new edge. Because of that, the section became too big and it fell apart. Even though the second pattern is busier, it only doubles the guitar, essentially, right? It's not adding a new element, it's reinforcing one that's already there. It reinforces it because it's so similar. So next I'll play you the Rhodes with the guitar. I'll put the Rhodes loud so that you can hear it. And then after that, I'll add the piano back in and move the Rhodes back down to where it's supposed to be. Next sound I added were these muted guitars, and they're not spectacular on their own, but they do play their part by either driving or emphasizing that rhythm. I'll play it once without and I'll play it once with. It's subtle, but you'll see what I mean. Now that brings us to the bass. And with this sound, the focus of all of this changes because now essentially the section has been built. We'll get to the drums later. So the bass line looks like this, and the focus going forward is to have these parts come together to make more unified or cohesive song sections or loops. Here's the audio. Stick with me for a second, because this can't be demonstrated, only explained. So, The goal is groove, right? And I didn't nail any of these parts first try. I went through a couple rounds of edits to make sure that they fit together properly, because that's how you get groove, when you piece things together just right. Because once you do that, the parts create a steady and consistent flow, but it's like, that's the part that so many rap producers just get absolutely wrong. They configure movement, with hi-hats and ear candy melodies and whatnot, but then they'll go and they'll take these really generic samples, rhythmically speaking, and they'll throw a blanket layer of trap drums on top of it, and it's like, that does nothing for your groove, and because of that, they end up ruining their own beats. It's like, trap drums work because the standard patterns have a groove to them, but if the groove of your instruments doesn't match the groove of your drums, they can essentially cancel each other out, and they will more often than they don't. And it's like, after all that's said and done, you end up with a very mediocre beat. And it's like, why? Why would you do that? Especially when you can make it better. Like, so much better. Levels better. Moral of the story, piece your parts together, it gets you groove. And that makes your music, loops, songs, beats, whatever you call it, it makes it so much better. I could go on, but let's keep this short and sweet. That's my rant, let's go on to the next part. Okay, I lied. Give it a second. So, bedroom pop type beats, as you know, generally go in the direction of rock and pop. So true to those genres, let's build out this song a little bit, which means two things: adding more sections and making it singable or rappable. Now let's get to the next pattern. Remember this Rhodes? Yeah, let's bring this guy back in. He became part of the intro, which we're gonna build up now. It sounds like this. Now we'll build up the rest of the intro. Pay attention to how the flow is different and how the rest of the parts are built is different, so that they can come together and match that different flow. I'm sure you noticed that the Rhodes in the intro is pretty different from in the hook, but did you notice how the guitar basically stays the same? That's the name of the game here. Making variations of parts and melodies are what gives songs their contrast, right? You give a different section its face by deciding which patterns or parts change and which stay the same, and which drop out, come in, or continue on. But be careful, because you can do too much. It can be tricky to balance sections that are too different, but bedroom pop beats tend to not have wild switch-ups anyways. So on that note, let's add another switch-up. For my entertainment and for the sake of your being able to see how to make a switch-up work, let's start the verse with the piano. It's the hook loop copied over, Command B or Control B on Windows, with the last chord changed from a G minor 7 to an F add 9. I also changed up the rhythm a lot. It's a little lazy in a sense, but this way the song definitely won't sound too, all over the place. Here it is. Okay, so from here, I'll play you the bass and then the whole section. Now that the verse has been built, the question is, how do you actually make something rappable or singable? Now, I must have watched a million different videos, and I've never actually seen someone explain it, which, I don't know why, because it seems like it'd be really complicated, until you realize it really isn't. This is how this goes. First things first. This beat is not at all rappable or singable. I have no intention of putting a vocal on it, so I fill the space. It's more fun for me and it gives you more to get at when you get into these breakdowns, but it doesn't help when you're trying to actually learn how to make a beat rappable or singable. So I went and threw this loop together. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but it does get the point across, so take it as a teaching tool. If you want to make something rappable or singable, 3 things. Number 1, leave space in the mix so that you can literally fit a vocal or a stack of vocals in there. Easy. I don't think this needs much explanation, the others will. Number 2, leave space in the groove or in the rhythm. In this case, I made the bass much more simple and I toned down the rhythm of the instruments a lot. Anybody who's learned to make music knows that any part or group of parts you add into a song is gonna affect the rhythm in some way, even if the point of the pattern isn't to be rhythmic. And if it doesn't, it should. But on the other hand, there's only so much you can do in a song before it's rhythmically full or complete. And this applies to any and every aspect of making music. There's only so much room. And you can't really add a vocal into a song that's already rhythmically set without it being unnecessary or less good than it could be, right? Any part you add into a song that isn't really truly adding something is gonna make it weaker. And number 3, leave space. Melodically speaking, so the vocal has a point. This is similar to number 2 in principle. These are all about space, right? Vocals are just like any other instrument, except for maybe drums and bass unless you're literally using your voice in that kind of way, but since they're the same, it means 2 things. First off, when you look at a vocal, see an instrument. And second, like any good instrument part, it'll have a melody and it'll have a rhythm. As is also the case with rhythm, every time you try to add a melody, it gets harder. And at a certain point, it just isn't happening anymore. But since 99 or whatever % of the time the vocal will be the focus, leave the main melody to the vocal when there's a vocal playing. But I really want to make sure that you get this. Even though this is generally the case, music and art will be music and art, so feel free to go nuts. Just don't forget to edit and to work with an intention. So that's how you make a bedroom pop type beat, or at least how I would make it. Last but not least, I'll play you the whole beat. But first, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you want to get better at producing. It's only up from here. My name is Marcus Guenther. Have a nice day, and remember, if you want to make music better, better make music. Now without further ado, the whole beat.